Shout out to whatever platform you're joining on. I see we got TikTok in the house. Shout out to y'all. See we got IG in the house. Got YouTube, Facebook, Riff Rumble, whatever platform you on. Shout out to y'all. Hopefully y'all have had an amazing day. Hopefully your week so far have been amazing. For those of you that are parents and your kids are back in school, hope everything going well. And for those that are going back to school next week and the week after, whenever your kids going to school, I hope everything is going well. Look, y'all, if it's your first time on my live, shout out to y'all. I go by the person they call Zabo103. I'm the dude that get on these live platforms and information that you would normally pay for. If I know it, you're getting it for free. And I know that tagline is going to get a little outdated soon, so I'm going to have to change that to something more clever because most people these days, they want to pay for information, y'all. And who am I to tell them not to? So my question of today that you probably already seen since you didn't join the live, and we'll start by saying this. I want to make sure that, make sure everybody in here. There we go. But we'll start by saying this and just making myself clear. You can always wish that things are going to happen for you in your life. You can always wish that these things that you call luck is going to transpire in your life. You always can wish. But realistically, in order for these things to happen that you're wishing that could happen to you have to take some form of action. It just is what it is, y'all. I know all this week, I've been popping on live periodically. We done talked about, you know, just call it basic things because it really ain't basic things. But we've been talking about things that you can do to put yourself in a position to make these things happen. We done talked about the thought process that you got to have. We've talked about how you overcome some of the fears that you have. We've even went down and broke down a game plan on how you can accomplish these things just by you taking action. And while some of these things may seem out of reach for you right now, they're not that far away from you where you're currently at today. Now, I'm not the person that's going to sit on here and tell you I'm some type of financial guru. I'm not. I'm not that person that's going to sit on here and tell you that I can guarantee all these things transpire. It's just not a real thing, y'all. No one can guarantee what type of success you have because you are the only person that's in control of that. So if you decide to take the steps, you are the one that has to guarantee yourself that these things can happen. And while I understand most people are looking for that handheld process that most people never get ever, the real reality of it is when people hold your hand to take you through your journey, you really put yourself in an extreme disadvantage. And that's just what it is. Nothing more, nothing less. I think that when I started my journey, I had I'm going to call it the pleasure of losing $90,000 to a coach. And the reason why I'm saying I had the pleasure of losing $90,000 to a coach is because it taught me a very valuable lesson. People will let you down. People will not meet your expectation. What's up, family? They just won't. And they're not supposed to. Because the real reality of it is this. Had I not spent that $90,000 with that coach and lost that money, I can assure you the mentality that I have today would not exist. I would still have that mentality that you got to network with everybody. You got to build all these relationships. I would still have the mentality that, man, you got to know the right person so they can put you in the right position. That's the mentality that I would have. But since I did go through that process and I did get that experience, I understood 100% without a doubt everything that I needed to know, I already knew. I understood without a doubt that whenever I decide to do something, it's going to require me to think about it. It's going to require me to do some research. And then it's going to require me to take some action. Notice I did not say it's requiring somebody else to give the information to me. Although there are people out here that have a ton of information. And that's the part that was scary to me. It was the most wild thing in the world to me. You said, am I telling you not to build relationships? They are the most important parts of business. Well, let me ask you the question. How long have you been in business? For those of you that think that building these relationships are the most important part of you having a successful business, how long have you been in business? Almost a decade. Okay. Almost 10 years. Watch this. How many hours a week do you work? 2 weeks? That's funny. You're hilarious. Most of the time, none. So if you don't work any hours and you've been in business for 10 years, what are you still searching for? What actually are you still searching for? If you don't work at all, for the most part, and you've been in business for 10 years, passive income? I think that most people have the belief that you have to have relationships in order for you to make moves. It doesn't mean you're not being kind. You're doing ethical business with people. It doesn't mean you're not doing those things. It just simply means all of these meet and greets that you pay for to be in the room with certain people, those things in 2024 are obsolete. And I know that's a hard pill to swallow for some of the dinosaurs that's in the room. But what I'm sharing is that's an old way of thinking. And unfortunately, in the world where people think that they need money personally, most people feel that same way. People that understand that money, the only purpose of it is to make money, they understand they don't have to really be out here networking doing none of these things that you've been told to do. Because the real reality of it is you're going to find yourself working for the rest of your life. And that's the part that people miss. And I get it. As a person that worked at Bank of America for 20 years as an executive without a college degree, working 2,400 hours a year, every single week going to networking events because that was something that was pushed on us, I can tell you flat out, none of that stuff don't matter. It just doesn't. Last year was a very eye-opening year for me and my family. For me to work 57 hours for the full physical year of 2023, no networking events, no rubbing elbows with anyone. The only partner in my life is me and my wife. It was scary when I look back on it and I said I worked 57 hours for the full fiscal year. This year I've worked 0 hours. Think about what I just said. And I'm not talking about, you know, the normal things that most people talk about. You know how people talk, right? When they got their own business. Well, let me not just assume. Let's just look at what's in the room. Well, you might be new. Maybe I don't think you're new to my life. I think I've seen you here once before, but we've talked about it from where people have nothing. That's what's really scary about this. That's the part that I kind of sit back sometime and I get a little bit of a head scratcher because most of the time when people, right, are in business for the most part, for whatever reason, those are the parts that a lot of people in business miss. A lot of people miss it. And the reason why people miss it is because for whatever reason, the connection that needs to happen from money is not a real thing to money is just a tool just to make money, and you the person don't need money. That piece is where I think people get disconnected. And I understand it because it takes a lot of brain usage and power to make that just connect the way it needs to connect. Let me explain. Most business owner, and we got a lot of business owner. I think we got about like 600 people. Actually, not just drop. I don't know what happened to IG. So let me kind of do something a little bit different. If you own a business, put a one in the chat. I want to see something. No matter which platform you're on, if you own your own business, put a one in the chat. I want to see something. There's a lot of unlearning. That's a fact. That's a fact. That's a fact. That's a fact. Got some ones on IG. I don't know. I keep forgetting I got all these cameras in my face. I'm not sure which platform I'm actually looking at. So what I know this is TikTok. This is IG. I think this is like YouTube, Facebook, and some other stuff. Um, so we got some business owners over here on TikTok. Do we got a business on the IG or any other platforms? Okay, we got a business owner over here on IG. What about the other platforms? Okay, we got some business owners over there too. All right, bet. All right, cool. To my business owners, I have a question for you. You do not have to put anything exact. I just want the rest of the people that's on the live to get an idea. Ballpark figure, the business that you're in currently today, how much does your business generate in a year? I'm just curious. And everybody else curious too, because you got a lot of people that want to start businesses, right? Now I kind of know what the average business owner make, but I want to see just revenue. We ain't count profits, none of that, because I understand that could be different depending on what you got going on. About 200, that makes sense. About 150, okay, get that. 325, that makes sense. And I know a lot of people don't want to really share that information, and I get it. A little over 2 million, that makes sense too. Here's what's interesting. Most people that go into business and they're working their business full time, they're generating somewhere around about $200,000 to $250,000 a year. That's about the number. So like anything above that 250 for the most part, a lot of times those people are outliers. A lot of times they are. Here's what I figured out. And here's what I figured out really, really quickly. When I very first started really conducting business, and I know most people are this way, but I don't know. Maybe it was just me, right? So I'm gonna just speak for me. Y'all can speak for yourself, business owners. But when I very first got into business, the very first thing I always used to think about is, man, I gotta make sure I got the right people around me because I don't need people stealing from me. I always my mind always, for whatever reason, always went to someone taking my products, taking my money. It always went there first. And a lot of times, especially in the very beginning, when we started looking at potentially hiring people, I used to be that person that'd be like, man, we can't hire nobody. I can't trust nobody to do this. If you are a business owner, maybe I'm alone in this. Did y'all feel that way or was it just me? Because I could be wrong. Maybe I could just be an isolated situation for me. That's just the way I thought. Put a two in the chat if you thought that way yourself as a business owner. I want to make this make sense, at least for the people that's on the live. If you did feel that way, put a one in the chat. Okay, felt that way. Makes sense. Okay, a lot of people felt that way. All right, I ain't bugging. All right, I thought I was tripping. Over on TikTok, I think there's something going on over there because my live keep doing some little glitch things. It's kind of weird, but let me start out by saying this. This is a safe place. Everybody's welcome. I'm on here just showing love. Here's where it clicked for me, boys and girls. And I don't know another way to say this. When I started understanding what the purpose of money was used for, only to make money, I stopped being afraid that people were going to take things for me. When I started to realize I only was holding money to give it to the next person, I stopped being afraid of people thinking that, hey, they're going to take something from me. I just did. Something clicked, and I know what it was. It was that you have to trade your money for time. The longer you trade your time for money, you can believe without a doubt you're going to run out of time. But when you're trading your money for time, what does that mean? I pay someone a competitive salary for their time to do the things that I would normally be doing. Those were things that when that moment clicked for me, it made me understand how a corporation like Bank of America could be so massive to put them in a place where ultimately they're just too big to fail. And some of these other big, massive companies, they were paying for time. Now, the people at the top of that food chain that's paying for time, guess what they get for their money? Time. Now, I understand for the most part, a lot of people ain't starting in that place. But why I'm sharing that is simply because even though you're not there yet, when you're starting out, these are things that are ultimately going to hold you back from actually growing. These are things that's going to put you in a spot where realistically you're going to continue to think about all the things that you fear. Your mindset ultimately has to shift. This stuff that we're talking about on these lives, trading money for time, fighting for your last name and not your first, showing unconditional love for the people that you care about and love the most. These things at some point you're gonna have to accept them. You're just not gonna have a choice. Because if not, you're gonna spend all your days of your life working. You might have your own business. You might say that your business is successful, and it might be based on what you believe success is, but you're going to spend all your time working. And I can tell you, your body at some point is going to let you know that you just can't work the way you're working. It just is what it is, y'all. So tonight, what I want to talk about is that one wish that you had or that you currently have that you want to make come true. What exactly is it going to take for you to make your wish come true? And are you willing to do it? That's cool. You do about 5 million a year. That's dope. I think that's amazing. Let me ask you a question. On that 5 million a year that you do a year, how many employees do you currently have? Yeah. How many employees do you currently have generating $5 million a year? You got 3 people? Okay. Let me just say this, and it's just me. I could be wrong. I could be off. I don't know what your business is. I will never claim to know what your business is. I don't know what you do, what you don't do, how much wear and tear it puts on you. I have no clue. But here's what I can tell you. If you can find a way to multiply yourself in employees that you clearly can afford to hire, you could multiply your 5 million a year by 10, and that would actually be your new number. But you will have to hire employees in order to do it. That's the truth. Think about it this way. If you got 3 employees and generating 5 million a year, somewhere around about $1.6 million, y'all generating a piece. If we saying equally, that's what y'all generating. Every time you hire somebody, realistically, you might pay them 6 figures a year. Just throwing a number out there, right? You turn around, you're gonna get off of your 100 grand that you paying this person $1.6 million every time you hire somebody. Because you're just making them duplicate things that you can do to increase your revenue. And I could be off because again, I don't know what type of business you have. I will never claim to know. But I'm just throwing something out there for you to think a little bit. Last year we generated, I ain't gonna give the exact number. We generated 8 figures last year. We was somewhere around about 28 employees, somewhere around there. This year the goal is to generate 9 figures. Now we at 98 employees right now. It don't necessarily mean that every time you hire somebody, it's gonna get the same results because everybody ain't the same. But with whatever you do and your training that you provide to your new employees to get the results that you want and the goals that you put in place for them to hit, you shouldn't be that far off. And if that employee is that far off from that number, then it's time to start performance managing these employees out. It's really that simple, y'all. But you gotta start with thinking. This thing we call money, it just ain't real. This thing that we call life, you only get one. This thing that we call family, the people that you say you care about and love the most, the goal is ultimately to do what? To spend as much time with them as humanly possible. Now, we know you still got to provide for your family. We get that. But if you started thinking on how you can provide for your family without giving up your time, that's the trick. That's the part where a lot of business owners get stuck because they rather tell people I'm booked and busy. And in reality, you just running out of time, people. For my newbies I shouldn't say newbies, for my people, my 9 to 5ers that's thinking about starting their own business, haven't taken the first step, don't overthink the process. Please don't do that. But you got to have on your mind the ultimate goal when you go into business is to continue to grow. Whenever you get to a certain number and you start to get comfortable, guess what's going to happen, boys and girls? That's how things start to evaporate. Your mind always got to be on how do I continue to grow the business or businesses? That's the game. So if you generated 100 grand this year, next year the goal need to be, man, I got to generate $1 million. Why you go so high from 100 grand to 1 million? Because if I shoot my target at 200,000, guess what's gonna happen? I'm probably not gonna hit that target. But if I set a target of $1 million and I'm at 100 grand already, and I fall short of that $1 million, say I fall to 500,000, well, I ain't mad. But if you do hit that 500,000, guess what that should tell you? Your target was still too low. Um, it's easy after the first 300K. It depends. It depends. It really depends. And the reason why I say it depends is because it just depends on the person and depends on the business. Let me not say it depends on the business, because you got business that you generate 300 grand. Yeah, you can get to the number, sure. But most people gotta have that drive, and most people don't. To make seven figures in a year, and I'm going to try to put this in a little bit of perspective. Let me say it this way. Watch this. About 10% of our population generates $100,000 a year. If we look at that same population that generates seven figures in a year, it's 0.1%. I hope y'all just heard what I just said. It's 0.1%. If you threw that 10 out there, someone that's generating eight figures a year, just slide the zero over. Think about what I'm saying. So what does that mean? If you are a person that's generating seven figures a year, you did something different than 99.9% of the people on this planet. I hope y'all get that. I used the example about like some of the basketball players. Like, if somebody got like $100 million contract and they end up for like what, 10 years? Watch this. They end up for 10 years. They got $100 million. They don't get that $100 million at one time. Y'all do know this stuff, right? I hope y'all get that. They get a paycheck just like an employee get a paycheck because they're an employee. We're not going to count endorsements and none of that. Just $100 million contract from the league. What's coming out of that $100 million? Well, you got to pay management. You got your manager. You got your agent. You got to pay them whatever you're paying them. Say you paying your agent 20%. I don't know. Sound like $2 million gone. Well, not two, 20 gone. You're down to $80 million. You're still sitting on a pretty penny. Now, I don't know if these ball players are smart or not, and they got all these other things, whatever going on, blah, 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 blah. We're just going to say raw what it is. Then they got to pay their taxes. They paying, depending on what state they're in, almost 49%. So you can cut that 80 million in half. That's down to $40 million over 10 years. Let's divide that 40 million over 10 years, boys and girls. That's $4 million a year. Four. They getting that every pay period. Every other, divide that 4 million over 12. It's good money, but it's $4 million a year. And again, I'm not accounting for them doing different things with whatever business they got or whatever it is. I'm just basic, right? That ball player that make $100 million a year, you know how many ball players that make $100 million a year that's in the league? It's not that many, y'all. I hope y'all know that. Not even close. And that's just what it is. Most ball players, on average, they're probably making somewhere around about like $750,000 a year. And we talking about basketball. We ain't even talking about football. Why am I saying these things? Because I'm trying to let reality sink in for a lot of people. The illusion that most people have that these people are doing all these phenomenal things and they're great at what they do. But their time frame in the league is how long? 7 years, 10 maybe. And then they got to find something else to do. Well, you are a person that has the ability to go into business and be disciplined and consistent, and you can start generating that million a year, 5 million a year, 10 million a year. But you ain't putting all this wear and tear on your body. So you don't have a 10-year lifespan because you're paying for people time. I hope y'all caught what I just said. So if I hire 100 people, how long could them 100 people work for me? Until they retire if they wanted to, right? But what does that mean? When they get up in age in the retirement age, guess what I can do? I can hire another 100 people. This 5 million you're making, this 10 million, this 1 million you're making, whatever you're making, you still got the ability to expense this stuff out the way you need to expense it out. Man, tax is gonna eat you up. Put yourself on payroll, and y'all didn't hear this from me. Most people that's making, 7 figures or higher, hopefully y'all are doing some of these little things. But if you're making that type of money, put yourself on payroll. Don't have to be a whole heap a lot of money. Get with your CPA and your tax attorney and just kind of come up with the calculation. You should be getting some type of, got your CPA giving you books maybe every month, maybe every quarter, maybe every 6 months, maybe every year. I don't know, whatever it is that you chose to do. So you can kind of project what your tax is going to look like after everything's expensed out. Pay yourself a salary. Nothing stops you from that salary that you get, minus the 401k if you got yourself on 401k, minus the health insurance that you got, minus whatever just the benefits that you got from your company. Nothing stops you from actually taking whatever salary you get and forward it all over for your federal taxes. Why would you do that? Because you're paying it through the year. So that when tax time come around, you've already paid the federal taxes. That's your highest tax. I hope y'all just understood what I just said. And for those people that said they make over, 7 figures a year, I hope you already doing that. It would be in your best interest instead of you waiting after you expensed everything down and then you then turned around and at the end of the year, you realize going into next year, you file your taxes, you realize, man, I owe Uncle Sam 300 grand. I ain't got 300 grand. I've been conducting business. That money been long gone. I had to buy inventory. I had to pay employees. I had to do this. I had to do that. Well, I got 3 years to pay them. What's going to happen in those 3 years? You might want to go ahead and go on that payment plan or something. Because you always got to conduct business, y'all. And most business ain't organized enough for the most part, small businesses. And when I say small businesses, if you still under 10 million a year on your business, you still a small business. Y'all know this stuff, right? That's the truth. But these are things that realistically, when you go into business, you got to be seeking this information out. You can't really not pay attention to what's really going on. But these are the things that we expect people like Donald Trump to tell people. How he not paying no taxes? Everybody pays taxes, y'all. If you earn an income, you're paying taxes. Or you're going to get in some major trouble. I don't want to hear this. Well, you can write this off, you can expense this. If you earn an income, you're paying taxes. He do conduct business in Wyoming as well. But you better believe he's still paying taxes. Don't ever get it twisted, y'all. He might not have no state taxes, but he paying taxes. If he earning an income. I suspect that he understands, and I don't know his business. I don't know his business. I suspect that he doesn't earn an income. That's what I suspect. And any income that he do earn, all of it's going to federal taxes. So he can say I don't pay no taxes because his payroll check is at zero. I hope y'all understand what I'm saying. So how you get your direct deposit every pay period and you happy you got your check, that direct deposit hit and it's zero going in his account. Think. If you get the loan, again, the loan is for you to conduct business, right? You're a business owner. If you got products, you know the more inventory you buy, the more money you can make, right? So let's say you buy inventory and your price, you getting 3 times the amount. I'm just throwing a random number out. I don't know your business. I don't really want to know it. You get 3 times the amount. If you go to the bank because you made last year, say $1 million, let's say they lowball you and they give you somewhere around, I don't know, you earned $1 million. That's what you were taxed on, right? Let's say they gave you $600,000 and you said, you know what? I got some things I got to do, but I'm going to go and spend $400,000 in inventory. I know I got to make these payments back. It's cheap money. It's cheaper than some of these expensive money that's outside of the bank, right? You can turn that 400 grand if you get 3 times your money off of your products. You can turn that 400 grand to $1.2 million. Guess what though? 600,000 out of that 1.2, it ain't taxed because that's a part of your loan. The interest on that 600,000 that you got from the bank, you can write that off too. So if you take that 400 and you go make 1.2, guess what you're doing first? You giving the bank back their money, the 600 grand and their interest. All that's coming off. Let's say that 600 grand and the interest that they charge you came to $700,000. On that $1.2 million, what you have left over is $500,000. 7 5, yep, $500,000. You gotta have business expenses on that 500 grand. You know that, right? Call it 200 grand. That means now you're gonna have to pay taxes on that 300 grand, along with whatever else your business is already doing. But the gift in this situation is you never paid the tax because the money went yours from the beginning. It was the bank money. The 600 is not taxed. The 500 will be taxed if you don't have it expensed. After you done expensed everything down, you done paid the loan back and all this other jazz. If that number is 500 grand, $500,000, which is the profits, will be taxed. What's up, family? Think of it this way. The IRS is your partner. Everybody trying to network with all these different people. I can't see that. Is that return earnings? Elaborate on what you mean for me, because I can't really see all that. But the IRS is your partner. While you out here trying to rub elbows at these galas and these meet and greets, you need to get familiar with your business partner, the IRS. You need to understand what incentives do the IRS give to your business. You need to understand whenever you earn some money, how much money you need to give your partner, the IRS. Um, that's a good question. I'm gonna have to ask my tax attorney about that because, from my understanding, yeah, the structure definitely got to be right for that for sure. But from my understanding, I think there are limited things that have to happen in order for that to transpire. You said, do you use a will and a trust? So if you have a trust, you can outline all of those things within it. The will itself, for the most part, I mean, is in your trust, right? But your will, think of it this way: your will is going to probate, your trust ain't. Go get you whatever type of trust that fits your situation. Also, make sure you have a family living trust as well. You get it? But that will go into probate. Almost. If you just have a will and you don't have a trust, that will's going through probate. That can be a nightmare for your loved ones that are left behind. You got that trust ain't going to probate. Family living trust. That's one you definitely need to have in the equation. Um, it just depends, right? When you say calculate it, right? When you say what percentage do you calculate for your taxes, look at your tax bracket. You might be in all the tax bracket, depending on how much money you make. Like I give you an example. If you make $628,000 in a year, you're gonna be basically in every tax bracket up to the highest one, which is 39%. That's just on the Fed side. If your state have taxes, you're gonna have whatever those state taxes as well. Depending on how much money you make, you might be in all those tax brackets. So I don't know the exact numbers to be exact, but let's just say if you made 25 grand, you in whatever it is, right? So you might be in a 25% tax bracket or 26 tax bracket, 27 all the way up to 39% if you're making $628,000 a year. And taxes going up, yeah. You're gonna pay taxes. I know a lot of people when they try to go into business, what typically happens is they try to figure out how to get around paying taxes. And again, the IRS will incentivize you to be in business. And they will incentivize you to have different things. They will incentivize you to have employees. You get it? They will incentivize you, you know, to do a lot of different things. You providing medical insurance, your employees paying their portion, you paying a portion. There are other tax credits that you can get. The expenses that you have for your business is a dollar for dollar match. What does that mean? It's not like a write off. If you got a CPA and a tax attorney, you'll be good. Just got to make sure they are, you vet them out to make sure they know what they're doing. Just because you have them, it doesn't mean that you stop learning either. Because sometimes they just gonna do what they gotta do and get on out the way. You gotta do what? You gotta be, hey, can we do this? We talked to our CPA today. Had a long, healthy, good hearted conversation about, hey, look, I see where this number is going this year, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I know y'all keep telling me I don't wanna I don't wanna play around with this number. But if we hit the number that it looks like we gonna hit this year, we might have to consider, if not a plane, we might have to consider always flying private when we conduct business. Maybe even joining some type of club where we giving them the money, like most people that technically got money do, and we fly private every time we need to fly. I mean, because it's starting to be like, I don't know what else to do, but we got to conduct business. If you owe the IRS, give them their money. There's not really any other way around it, y'all. I know everybody got all these hacks. Take your holding company and put your holding company inside of your trust. Pay yourself 5% and then take your other 95% and give it to your family living trust. That way you won't have no taxes. Well, you ain't earn no income either. You ain't earn no income. And if you didn't earn no income, guess what? You don't have no taxes. But also, if you don't earn income, when it's time to go get funding, guess what you can't get? Funding. Because one of the things that the bank's gonna look at, they're gonna look at your ability to pay and your willingness to pay. Now, your willingness to pay might be on point. Because you might have some good business credit and some good personal credit. But your ability to pay is gonna be shot if you didn't earn no money. They're not giving you no money. You didn't earn no money. That don't make no sense. Starting the foundation is a solid thing for sure. Definitely, it's a tight game, but you got to be generating some bread. And I think that happens to a lot of people too. A lot of times when people go into business, they overshoot where they're actually at. And what do I mean by that? They put the cart before the horse. People go out and put all these big things into play. And I get it. You want to set it up the right way the first time if you can. But they put all these big things to play and they ain't earned no money at all. It's like when we talk about life insurance policies, and I say, look, whole life insurance policy, whole life insurance policy. I understand what the IULs are. I understand the benefits of them and the not so great side of it. I understand both, right? But you'll have everybody on social media tell you, nope, get you an IUL. Nope, you got to get your IUL. And it was because an influencer told them to get an IUL. What that influencer didn't tell them, if you got an IUL, you got to have some real bread. That's the truth. Nobody don't really want to say that on social media because it's a great product to sell you. Why? Because them IULs have fees and they know they can get paid off of you because you have no clue what you're doing. That's the truth. Nonprofit organizations are cool. You just got to follow your nonprofit organization bylaws. Because if you don't, you're going to get hit in the head. Yeah, it is. But a lot of people, like I said, you got to have some bread to play in that world. And if you don't, you playing with fire. You can earn 10% on your money. Okay. You can go, you can, it's possible. But y'all done seen the market. Y'all been looking at the market. So you telling me y'all get into that IUL right now and the market's been down, y'all. If you haven't figured it out, it's been down. Probably gonna be down all the way through November. It just is what it is, y'all. Maybe the Black Friday weekend, it'll still be down. And then Cyber Monday, probably that Tuesday, we'll probably see something pop off. Yeah, well, you say Roth a better option? I hear people saying that. And while I can't really say a lot of things bad about it, but ask yourself the question. This is me. I believe annuities are better than Roth. That's just me. And I could be wrong. Why am I saying that? How much money can you put in a Roth every year? 6,500 bucks? Am I tripping? Y'all keep me honest. The people that got Roths, y'all tell me. How much can you put in a Roth every single year? Is it 6,500 bucks? Or is it something more? Is it less? What is that number? I heard somebody on social media, they were saying that if your kid is, I don't know how they said, but a certain age, put that money into the Roth. It's 6K, somewhere around there. Yeah. Put that money into the Roth. I think they like 18 or something like that, 21, whatever it was. I don't know what the number was. Or 12. It probably was 12. No, it was like 14. It was a low number. 14 years old, I think. Put their money into the Roth, 6,500 every year. And by the time they turn 60, they'll have $1,000,000. So you telling me I'm 14 years old. You want me to wait, my kid to wait 44 years before they even touch $1,000,000? When I didn't figure out not only how to generate 7 figures in a year, how to generate 8 figures in a year, and generate and keep to put into something else 7 figures a year. By the time if my kid is 14 years old, and I go down the path that I'm gonna go with this whole life insurance policy, let's say my 6 year old, he's an employee. When he turns 16, guess what's gonna transpire with him? He gonna get a bigger role in the company, in one of the businesses that might even be his own. The company, because he is an employee, even though it's going to be his, is going to pay for his life insurance policy. So it's going to be free for him and a business expense. So this company that's making 7 figures a year by that time for his business, right? He making $1,000,000 a year. Can he afford to take $240,000 a year to put into a whole life insurance policy from his company that's going to be expensed by his business? So he ain't paying for it? He's 16. You know how much bread that 16-year-old will have by putting $240,000 in a whole life insurance policy from 16 all the way to 60? What's that? 34 years? No, 44 years? Getting compound interest on that money, tax free? Now his insurance policy is gonna be through the roof. He gonna have a major insurance policy, right? You know, he's gonna be young, CEO of the company. Could he afford to have a $10 million policy on himself? In 44 years, he'll have access. By the time he turns 60 and you got that Roth and you didn't got to your $1 million, he will have access to tap into $10 million if he wanted to. Think. The best thing for you to do, family, is go down and sit with a broker. And when I say a broker, I'm talking about a life insurance broker. Let them see what you got going on. And tell them, give me some illustrations. The illustration of everything that you have. And that way you can make a pretty clear decision on what's best for you. I think annuities, for the most part, I think you could do 750,000 a year. I think it's not something I'm into. The point that I'm making is it's a big world out here, y'all. And there are a lot of things that are going on. And there are a lot of things going on with you and in your head. Fear can't be one of them, y'all. It just can't. Yeah. If you stuck in employee mindset, I mean, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. Could it happen? I mean, if you are an extremely high earner, like say a LeBron, he's an extremely high earner, right? Like I mean that's if you're an extremely high earner, I guess it could happen. But what population of people are extremely high earners, employees wise? It's just not a real thing. It's not coming. So what does that mean? You gotta start thinking, y'all. And you gotta stop waiting for someone just to hand it to you. That's not how life works, y'all. You gotta go out there and get it. And these questions that you may have and you may be thinking about, they have professionals and experts that are in that field that can absolutely, without a doubt, assist you when it comes to the information that you're looking for. And most of the time, just the information, they will give it to you for free because they want you to buy a product. That's the truth. So, as we sit here tonight, and we know already we all can wish, and this platform right here, I know that many people on here, but I'm about to end over here. Y'all can go to the after party at Zabo 103 on TikTok or IG. The replays will be on YouTube at Zabo 103. It'll be at Facebook at Zabian Gibson. It'll be on Instagram at Zabo 103 too. So y'all can tap in with that. But this camera about to go down on me, and I don't want to go down without saying that. So you can actually go over to IG at Zabo 103 or Instagram at Zabo 103. And we're gonna keep this party going. All right. Peace.